I'm really glad you're able to be here tonight. We've got a great turnout of very familiar faces for some of you, and other guys I've not met before. But hopefully you're going to take something away. I mean, everyone hopefully will take something away from what we're going to go through this evening. So thank you for being here. As far as I know, there is no fire alarm practice scheduled for the next hour. So if it does go off, then you know what to do. What do, Simon? We go out follow Simon. Yeah, okay. In the course of the next sort of 40 minutes or so, I'm just going to try and run through a few ideas, a few suggestions. I mean, a lot of these talks that we get at BCA are solid history, reviewing what's gone on in the past. I mean, Alan's talks about this, Lynn's talks about that, and the one that's coming up next month about grotesques, which will be great. These are about definite things which have got a but I mean, tonight is very much more about ideas and a proposal that I'm going to run past you as a group and see how you feel about it. But firstly, look at that for a map. That is a fantastic hand-drawn map of Buxton, which shows, what we've got here. There goes sight. We've got a golf course there, which is great, and then we've got another golf course over there, which is great, and we've got Corbar, Brown Edge, Riversvale, Serpentine. We've got the Country Park and Grinlow and Sherbrooke and all these lovely places. It's fantastic. I mean, my wife and I, Diane, we've lived in Buxton since 1995 and still feel it to be a privilege to be living in such a wonderful place. It's rich, it's varied, there's things to do. It's a great place to live and enjoy your life. The Woods, fantastic management by BCA. We're working with Harriet and Sarah earlier today up at Water Street. And the work that's going on there to maintain and improve the woods in not easy circumstances, it's a wonderful place. I've got to remember not to walk about too much or Charles will shout at me. So I'm going to try and stay put. Right, it's okay. But there's a however about all this wonderfulness. There's a however, because I don't know how you feel about it, but sometimes I feel the visitor experience of Buxton is, shall we say, a bit thin at times. A bit, there could be so much more going on. There are some rather untidy little corners which don't enhance the quality of the life we have here. And the traffic at times, is it just me, or is the traffic sometimes a real royal pain? Yeah. So it's more, there's something we can do about this situation. I put this in a slide that says, what can we do? What can we do to improve the place in which we live? And I'm going to make some observations about something that we have already done as part of Buxton's Civic Association, a project that we have striven to turn into a really nice little corner from some. I'll come back to that in a minute. I want to refer to something that went on, slightly bizarre, but in post-war Italy, in the city of Reggio Emilia, which is in the north, is far from Bologna. What happened there, and what was possible against all the odds. A section of the talk will talk about superblocks My grandson's just finished a degree in architecture at Liverpool University. Starts his internship next week down somewhere in Canary Wharf or somewhere down in London. And we talked a lot about these possibilities, about what can you do to improve the quality of an experience, and a proposal for the future that might actually work. Remember this? This is as it was at Water Street in our lovely town. A few yards up from the Opera House, a few yards away from some really wonderful historic buildings. And we said, you know, back in 2016, 2017, we've got to do something about this. So a group of us set to and did the sweeping, we did the clearing, we did a bit of weeding, we tried to make it so, and all that happened was that people parked on it. You know, I mean, that was great. We really, you know, that was a win. So, you know, we had Diane and Lynn and Alan. I've got a list here just in case I don't miss anyone. And Simon and John Evans is not here. Steve Orridge, who some of you may know. Julian, Debbie, Carol, John Ahern, who's not with us tonight. Roger, Judith. You know, we always go down there and sweep and clean and try and make it nice. And it was something that we felt okay, this is so far so good, we're keeping it clean, but we need to do a bit more. So, as you know, what happened? We turned it into a sensory garden. We turned it into, you know, the people said, you can't do this, you know, it's not going to happen, you're not going to get planning permission. You're not going to get, you know, enough money. It's going to cost a lot of money. It took us 6 weeks to raise the £18,000 we needed. It really worked. It took us a year to get planning permission from the council, you know, but let's not go there. But it was a project where we've got a sensory area in the middle, which it smells nice, it's nice to touch. You've got a wild area at the back where attracts butterflies and bees. And probably one of the most important parts of it doesn't quite pick it up in this photo, is that where I'm pointing to now, there's a bench. There's another one over here and another one over here. And it's a great place for people to come and have a sit down, have a sandwich, have a chat. It's really used by people as a social space. We had a lot of support from BCA, we had support from the Southwest Peak people, we had support from Waitrose, who gave us quite a lot of money over the years. And our builder, if you need a good builder, the guy, Dave Trotter, he did the work, the slabs and all the rest of it. Great job. It shows what could be done, what was possible against the odds. And so we turned this into a garden. We now maintain it. We look after it. We're down there this morning with some of the BCA staff trimming the hedges and trying to make it nice. It's a great, thank you John for your help this morning, by the way, much appreciated. Right? I mean, it's a great project that has really worked. Now, one of the key things is this last line. I was awarded Heritage Hero 2019 by the Heritage Alliance. And what that meant, a trip to the Tower of London for a presentation, which was very grand, right? But the key thing was, for the Heritage Alliance, they'd seen someone who'd taken a project and they'd moved it from start to finish, and they'd followed it through and they'd made it work. And it was that sense of ownership that they really liked. And this was the project that we really enjoyed doing and continue to enjoy doing, and we spend quite a lot of time up there. Now, and we get to it. When you're working away in the garden, one of the sounds that tends to dominate is the sound of screeching tyres. Because this junction, and if you drive in Buxton, you know Buxton, this is an absolute nightmare. It's a death trap. Because you're coming up the road, no one knows who's turning left, no one knows what's going on. You want to turn coming down Manchester Road, you want to turn down here. It's very, very awkward. And, you know, the inevitable happens. You know, we were there a couple of weeks ago and heard the screech and the bump. So I thought, oh, I'm going to take a photo of that for my talk. That couldn't have been come at a better time. No one was hurt. It wasn't a high-speed crash or anything, but it was just an awkward little bump. And we're thinking, this is ridiculous. This junction is absolutely hopeless. So we asked the question, what can we do? Something needs to be done. And often, I think, if you're trying to get something done, people say, oh no, it'll never happen. It's too expensive. It's too complicated. It's too difficult. There really isn't a problem at that junction. There really isn't, you know, there aren't enough accidents there to make it that we actually have to do anything. And I think, what? Everybody who drives around that area knows it's horrible. And there's nothing we can do to actually fix it. Well, maybe there is. Maybe this is what they said in Italy at the end of the Second World War. An Italian anecdote. Indulge me if you don't mind. That area of Reggio Emilia and that area was bombed and bombed and bombed. As the Italian army withdrew, the cities were laid waste. And I chose this photo because I think it's so poignant. These three women sat in the rubble of whatever with their little kids saying, this, you know, we see it in the news in today. You said, war returns to Europe. You know, the horror that we thought we'd never see again is back. But that's another story. But the people of Reggio Emilia, this city, said, we're never going to let this happen again. We're not going to let the fascists take over. We're not going to let, and I've got to say it, we're not going to let the men lead us into this mess that we've had before today. They said, so this group of very strong, assertive women decided they were going to make changes. So they employed a teacher called Loris Malaguzzi. And what Malaguzzi said was, we can do things differently. We can make childhood better in our city. It was that sense of ownership, the ownership of the city, children, childhood, saying, we're going to put together a new system. I'm going to ask you to read this slide. Okay. Give me a show of hands. Give me a show of if you like that, those 4 points. If you think those 4 points make sense about childhood. So one of those. If you're not sure, one of them. And if you, we seem to, not sure, yeah, but this is what Loris Malaguzzi said. We're going to set up programs of education so that children can work with family groups, with their parents, at their own pace, in their own way. They can follow their own interests. They can follow discovering things together, and that sense of ownership of their own learning was what Malaguzzi pushed. He also coined a phrase, the 100 languages of children. This has been interpreted by educationalists in many ways, but my take on it is that children, particularly when they're little and they're growing up, they can begin to see the world in their own way, the way they construct their individual understanding of their world. So that you may have brothers and sisters in the same family, but each will see the world in their own way and interpret it in their own language to get their understanding of their world, each child on their own particular trajectory, their own particular journey. And Malaguzzi said, if children and adults can work together, they can learn better and get a better understanding of the world in which they inhabit. Now, this is quite different to the didactic approach of the old-fashioned Italian teaching, which was led by someone stood at the front telling them what to learn. That revolutionized the centers that Malaguzzi opened. The outcome is that you have a city now with the Loris Malaguzzi International Centre, which is a wonderful thing, visited by many people from all over the world. You look on the website, it's a fantastic resource. But for me, and for Diane and myself, when we went there, one of the most powerful images we had, powerful memories rather, we took away from Reggio, was the fact that wherever you went in the city, you were presented with these billboards with children's art. This is just one example from an underpass on the subway. Great big things with what children have done in the squares, in the towns, all around. Wherever you went, there were pictures drawn by children that they were presenting. Now, that sense of ownership is what the sense of ownership is what struck us. The fact that there they are, the children walking around, and they can see things that they've done. They can see things that they had responsibility for, and that sense of being involved in their own city giving them that pride and that sense of belonging. Now, as we all know, there has been a tremendous wave of people seeking asylum from countries in the African subcontinent and Middle East. And Italy has taken huge numbers of asylum seekers. And I don't know, but I wonder whether the artwork in Reggio is going to slowly start to reflect the newcomers who are settling in these cities, Reggio and other places. And that's something that we'll have to see in the future, but I hope it does. I hope that they start to produce artwork which will make them feel that they've got a sense then of their own identity. Now, Malaguzzi died in 1994, but his influence lives on. What they felt was impossible, they made it happen. And I love that anecdote because it gives me hope. It gives us hope that even if something seems absolutely like, no, you'll never get that done. You'll never get the Water Street garden to be a nice place. Sometimes things work. One of the things that I particularly like, and I'm just going to go back to this one, is how on an ordinary underpass you've got children's art. And I wonder what we would have on a hoarding on an underpass. I tell you what we would have. We'd have advertising. We'd have, buy this or invest in that. And I think this is a better use of community space than just trying to sell us stuff. And I put it to you that is an example of a power shift from external people coming in from outside saying, this is what you want to buy. You can go to Specsavers and do this and do this. Let's have something that's more of a local display, something that we value, something that matters to us rather than just marketing. And it gives a sense of our local cultural identity. The sense that we are, this is Buxton. What's special about this place? What's special about here? And we know something about Buxton that makes it special, and that it's not just the Civic Association, is it, Peter? It's not just the quarry, it's not just the water, it's the sense of community that this place has that makes it special. The concept of the restorative city, I'm going to explore on the next slide or two. But architects come along and they say, right, this is something that we can make, we can apply a theory to a city place, and this concept really took root with me. I hope it does with you, about what cities are actually for. Now, what is not to like about that? And we are blessed here, I think. We are blessed to have green spaces to play and exercise. Not just the golf courses, but the gardens, the woods, wherever. We've got a lot of green space. We have an element of neighbourly streets for socialising. Places, you know, you walk down Dovedale Crescent and there's this big open square piece of green. I don't know what it is, what it's like where you live, but there's a lot of little green spaces around Buxton. We have some art and sculpture. Bill Barrett's particular thing with the Duke of Devonshire, that marvellous statue at the back of the Crescent. You know the one I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Fantastic. We were very tempted with the sensory garden. That back wall. Should we have a mural? You know, and funnily enough, the only bit of graffiti we've ever had on that asked that question. Someone had put with some kind of chalk paint, right? This, what do they say? This wall needs a mural. It needs a painting. And we thought, well, that's interesting. Someone else had it, but we've said, yes, we will, or no, we won't. But you know, you go with Friends of Buxton Station, the things going on up there. You know, there's some fantastic little bits and pieces around town which really begin to make it special. But do we have? I mean, this Rowan Mackay, the authors of this, do we have enough art and sculpture? Do we have enough blue areas, they call them, with water and fountains? Sure, the fountains in Pavilion Gardens. It's a bit of an effort. It looks a bit of an effort at times, doesn't it? For the water to come up and go out. And the fountains in front of the Crescent are very nice. But what happened to that fountain at the end of Spring Gardens, the one with the Taylor Well thing? What's happened? I don't know what happened to that. It just seemed dried up. I don't know. But Buxton's famous for its water, for goodness sake. Where's the fountains? You know, where are the sculptures of famous Buxtonians? Where's the sculpture of Vera Brittain going to go? Who knows? Yeah, but you know, this is street art which gives us our identity. Who's been up to see Martha? In the woods. Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, if you've not been up to seen the quarry man is still there, sat down, watching, right? While 50 yards up the path, there's his wife working away. It's a most amazing sculpture, and you know, commendation to Civic Association for organising it in conjunction with, of course, Buxton Advertiser and others. Yes, yes. So our sense of identity from our sculpture, and this is all very well. I'm going to show a slide, and I'd like you to shout out at me. Go on. No one will look funny at you, right? Your reaction to it. How does it make you feel?
Here we go again.
Yeah. Sorry, Charles.
Well, it's never good in the rain, is it?
No, I mean, okay. That was the day I took it. All right. It was a rainy day. But you know, I look at this and I see there's Land Rover parked here, and I see there's cars going wherever it's going, and there's people have parked up, and it's just awful. I think. I mean, I think is this the middle of our town? Is this what visitors see as the historic centre of Buxton? They see somewhere that's just got too many sets of traffic lights and too many cars and too many people parking in funny places. It's, well, I don't know, never good in the rain. What do you think? Is that something we can be proud of? I don't know. Okay, the next one. The next one I take will be. I'll make it a sunny day and traffic free. Right. Talking to Sam about this issue, he was saying that there's a concept that is being used by city planners called the super block. And it's been used very effectively in a number of large cities, notably Milan and Barcelona. Now we know I know those cities reasonably well through work and what have you, and they have had over the years the most horrendous traffic problems. Nightmares to drive in. And what they've done to make it better is they've made a fairly complex one-way system so that you can find your way to where you want to go eventually by following the one-way system, which is just great. You know, we have one-way systems in our cities, don't we? Nottingham, oh, what a joy it is to drive in Nottingham. Sheffield, even better. Derby, it gets better and better, doesn't it? The one-way systems in our cities don't always work quite the way they were planned, but the idea is that you have a system to ease the flow of traffic. And Buxton is described some ways as a pepper pot. It's a funny setup, really, isn't it? Because you've got the historic centre at the bottom, and then you've got Terrace Road going up, and then you've got the marketplace area. So it's almost a pepper pot shape, and it is awkward on traffic. There's no getting away from it. The roads that come in, it's difficult. It wasn't designed for this many cars in the first place, right? But I put it to you that one area of the town has almost, and you know where this is, has almost pedestrianised itself by default. You drive down, I mean, we drive down there to do work at Water Street. We drive down there anyway to get water and what have you. And you see people walking around there as though this bit here is actually open space. It's an extended pavement. It's wonderful, I think, to see how many people actually sort of ignore the little narrow pavements, and they're painfully narrow. They're going down here by the side of the park. You can't really get down there very easily. There's a thing for getting a parking. What's the word I'm looking for? Meter. Parking meter down there. You know, you're kind of trying to get around it. So people will walk on the road And it's almost designing itself as an open space. And here it comes. Proposal. Make it one way. So you can only drive down Water Street. So these cars wouldn't be there. That one could just drive straight down to the end. That awful junction at the top then becomes easier because no one's trying to pull out onto St John's Road. All that's happening is cars are coming down. Now, if that were made possible, you could widen the pavements. The cars would be kept in the middle. The parking would be exactly the same. For the hotels, for the shops, for whoever, the opera house. The only difference would be that you've got lovely, wide pavements on which you could install seating. You could install water features, art and sculpture. And it could become a more open social area. So you're getting rid of a horrible junction. You're getting rid of the potential for nasty accidents. And you're opening it up then to making the centre of Buxton a much more agreeable place. And Mitchell in 2013 described this process as equigenesis, which is a lovely, meaningless word, but what he said was the people who this is going to benefit most are the people who perhaps live in small houses, who don't have big gardens, who don't have, the people who have got nice big gardens and social spaces at home don't benefit so much. It's a question of fairness to give the people who need to get out and socialise a bit of open space. And of course, we were coming through the centre of Birmingham the other week at night, and I saw this fantastic display just in one of the squares. And on each of these illuminated blocks, there was a little bit of Brummie history. A little bit of something about the jewellery quarter. A little bit about something that said, this is our city, this is our history, and something of which we can all be proud. And I thought, an illuminated block in that just that ordinary street, it brought it to life. It was fantastic just to see that there was something there that made it special and gave the people of that city in that area a sense of ownership. Now, I put it to you that there are obstacles to doing something like this. Of course there are. Oh, we can't afford it. It's going to be too complicated. But we said, if you push on these ideas hard enough, change happens. And I can, remember very clearly the chaos turning Spring Gardens into a pedestrianised zone. Does that ring bells with anyone? But they did it. And the other areas that have gradually been evolved, why not? And of course there's clear benefits, aren't there? There's clear benefits to this. That in the city, in the town centre, it's quieter. There won't be so much traffic, so many near misses. Air quality of value to us all, social space, and a safer place for us to. So when I said about the title of this talk about green spaces are not enough, we're reclaiming the streets. You can see now where I was getting that idea from, yeah? Yeah, wonderful green town, lots of green spaces, but a problem with traffic. And it can be made better. So, in conclusion, the Reggio Emilia anecdote is one of my favourites, so I've shared it with you. Do have a look at that if you are interested in childhood, interested in ideas. The Loris Malaguzzi concept is really quite inspirational. I'd say that Buxton evolving as a town, there's some occasional odd bits of evolution, a roundabout on Fairfield Road. I'm not quite sure whether that's an evolutionary dead end or something, but hey ho, it's there, and of course, we want a healthy environment for us all. We want more social space, we want more conversation, we want more talking, and really, this is what Buxton Civic Association is all about. Not just about the woods, not just about Water Street, not just about the cavern and the shop and all the rest of it, but it's about trying to make Buxton a better place for everyone. Some of the sources I used for this, I've got copies of this slide if anybody would like a little copy of that. And finish with a quote from Corbusier, the old architect: "Towns for living in." And that's what this is all about. I'll leave it with you. Thank you for your attention.